Good morning. Started going on my morning walk and doing some reflecting. It's kind of what happens when I do walks by myself, as my brain tends to wander and contemplate and process different things, which is one of the reasons why I like to do it. So some of the stuff that was coming up for me was, in this process of healing, going through it, is being bombarded with so much information. It was like, people saying, you've got to rest, you got to take it easy, you've got to, not do anything. But then you've got to listen to your body, know when you need to push, know when you need to work through things. If it hurts, you need to back off of it. But then again, if it hurts, you need to know how to be able to push through it, because sometimes that's helpful. And, it was interesting because there was a lot of information that I was getting that was kind of contradicting, right? If it hurts, don't do it. If it hurts, sometimes it's helpful to kind of push a little bit and work through it. Well, over the years, I've developed enough of a relationship with my body that, I have pretty good body awareness in regards to if something's injured, I've got to lay off of it and let it heal, versus if something's hurt, I can typically work around it, right? Or figure out what I need to do. Good example being is my toe has been numb throughout this whole process in my left foot, my big toe. And what I've really felt like is I need to do some really good stretches in my left leg. It's just felt like it's just kind of pulling really hard. But I didn't get approved for PT until last week. And so, I talked to the PT person and, I've got a good relationship with her. And she said, do whatever you want to do within reason, right? She's like, I trust you. You know what you're doing. I'll give you kind of some systems of things to do, but, listen to your body. Don't do anything to injure it or anything like that. But, if you want to do some light workouts, do some different things, and see how your body responds, and just kind of litmus test it. And so, I've been doing that, and, some of the stretches I've been doing, what I've noticed is now I have feeling back in my big toe, where before it was literally kind of numb. I felt like I was almost dragging it around all the time. Now, I can actually walk better with it, have more feeling with it. I'm not saying it's fixed, but definitely heading in the right direction. And it's so interesting because, the thought was, it's hurt, leave it alone, right? But I knew what it really needed was some stretches. Specifically, there was a person that I worked with before that had me do something called a nerve glide. And I found that really helpful when I had this type of, pain going in the left leg. And so doing that, it's made a big difference. So just kind of reflecting on, what does this mean, right? We're bombarded with constant information, contradictions, all that kind of stuff. And the reality is what works for you may work for somebody else. It may not work for somebody else. Work for somebody else may work for you. It may not work for you. I think it's our responsibility to have enough awareness to be able to use discernment to figure out what's good for us. All right. So I know I can work through pain, and I know that I can push myself, and I know, this is the part where I do really well. The, pausing, not doing things, allowing myself to be able to heal, that was more of a challenge for me. Well, coming out of surgery, I didn't have much of a choice. And so, that was more of that mental part of it. But kind of concluding all these things is, yes, it's great to gather information. It's great to read stuff, have an understanding. Unfortunately, we live in a time where you can find contradictions about everything. So use discernment to be able to figure out, is it helpful for you, right? If it is, great. If it's not helpful for somebody else, okay, that's fine. It's not anything to take personal. So, I guess my whole thing is use your discernment and become emotionally aware in regards to how your body reacts and responds to things. So hope things are going well in everybody's life, and know when to push when it's time to push, and when to rest when it's time to rest.